What is going on? All right, guys. Today we're going to be talking about a very common emotional experience that you likely have because most people struggling with anxiety have this pattern. We tend to say that we are struggling with anxiety across the board, but what's really happening is I know that without even speaking to you individually in this moment, whoever you are, I know that when we feel that out of control, it's not just anxiety, right? It's also anger, it's frustration, it's guilt, it's maybe depression, it's feeling sad, right? It's all over the map. And that's a very common thing when we feel out of control. So today I want to explain to you if you're feeling a little crazy, right? If you're feeling maybe bipolar, if a therapist or someone has diagnosed you with that, I want to break that belief and give you a real practical understanding of why this is happening. And in that process, I want to explain to you how you can get out. But this is going to be a very in-depth training, so buckle up because you're about to have answers you've never had before. So let me share with you my screen, and we will get right to it. Okay. So I'm going to read this to you, but I also would rather you just listen to me as well. Okay, so take it in all your senses. So this is what I call the crazy eight concept. Okay, anytime in your life that you feel out of control, it could be your relationship, your health, your career, your finances, your relationship with God. Maybe you are going against your own values. Maybe you feel out of control with your kids. Maybe it's just around driving. It doesn't really matter where it is. Anytime a human being feels out of control of their life, they're 100% of the time going to go through this. Now, before I even explain to you what this pattern is, I want you to think about this. In the last 20 years, take a wild guess. What would you say is the percentage of people that you would say have been diagnosed with something like bipolar or depressive disorder or anger management or something of that nature, right? It's pretty freaking high. But the reality is, I also want you to notice this. What percentage of the world would you say, just pulling a number out of your butt, out of thin air, what percentage of the world would you say really feels totally in control of their life? A really low amount of people, right? So the reason I bring this up is because anytime we feel out of control of our life, this is what's going to happen. And if you listen and you notice, this is the pattern that we talk about that bipolar is. So you're going to get a lot out of this. And if you're asking right now, okay, well, then what's the difference between this, whatever you're about to explain, and bipolar? The difference is nothing. Bipolar doesn't exist. There's no chemical imbalance there. It's just people feeling so damn out of control of their life that the nervous system does what I'm about to explain to you. So let's get into it. When you and I feel out of control of our health, our relationships, our finances, our career, our kids, it does not matter. We're going to go through two natural emotional states in our body. Okay. One of them is going to be this really like high, angry, or frustrated emotional state. Now, I might be exaggerating it a little bit, but just so you can kind of see it, it's going to be like a high energy emotion, like you and thing. And then the nervous system eventually gets tired of all that like pent up energy in the body, right? That um, not the tightness, what do you call it? That pressure in the body, and it has to let go. Because one of the things that you're going to discover is that every single one of us has a need for variety. The nervous system needs change. That's not a choice. The human condition is it needs change. With that said, when we're all up here and we get tired of that, the nervous system needs to change. And so it'll come down here and just feel guilty or depressed or sad or lonely or something like that. And eventually we're going to feel weak in this state and just be like, oh my God, you know what? This is stupid. Like, I can't. And then we're going to snap and go right back up. And then what happens when your body gets tired of this one? You go right back down and you go up and down and up and down and up and down. As long as you feel out of control, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Now, many people I've spoken with on the phone lately have said that their psychologist friends or family members or Instagram psychologists, TikTok psychologists say that this is bipolar, this is this label, that label. I promise you, you just feel out of control and you're trying to meet some basic needs. So let's go into the actual diagram of this, okay? Let's go into this. So picture it like this, okay? As you can see on the screen, when you and I feel out of control, we're going to go to one of two places first. We're going to do both, but you and I are going to go to one before the other. You're either going to like get frustrated first and like annoyed and angry first and snap, maybe lash out at your kids, your husband, your coworkers, someone like that, maybe at yourself, right? You're going to lash out. And then when your body's tired of that, like we said, we're going to go over here to the other side, which is like depression, upset, loneliness, guilt, right? We're going to go down here. When the body gets tired of that, as you can see, it's this crazy eight where you just keep going back and forth and back and forth. Now, before I go any further, the one that you and I go to first, not that this is that relevant, but I wanted you to kind of have more of an intricate, in-depth understanding. If you value the need for being in control and strong and powerful and kind of in control most, you're going to go to anger or frustration or rage first. If you value feeling more like comfortable and connected with people and supported, right? You're going to go for more depression or upset or loneliness first. And the reason is because this one has a lot more strength in it. We feel like we can break through a problem in this moment when we're angry and frustrated. So it feels powerful and strong in the moment. But depression, upset, loneliness, those feelings, they're more of like and it's a lot easier to connect with people when we're in this state of just like hopelessness. You know what I mean? So depending on which one you go to is depending which one you want to feel more. Do you want to feel powerful and strong and in control, or do you want to feel connected and comfortable? Regardless, the reason why we keep going back and forth is because, as you've learned in the previous trainings, we all have 6 human needs. Anytime any emotion meets at least 3 of these needs, we immediately become addicted to that emotion, right? And so when we're on the anger side, the frustration side, the rage side, the annoyance side, the irritated side, right, that stronger up here emotion, we feel certainty that we can figure it out, even if it's not true. We feel certainty that in that moment, we're going to figure it out. People are going to respond to me, right? We feel significant because in this moment where I'm not feeling very significant in my life, I'm significant. I'm going to make me significant. Like you, I am significant, right? So we feel significant. We probably have a sense of connection because whether it's healthy or not, we feel connected to the people that we're talking to. Even though it's not like the best version of it, it's still connected, right? We also have a sense of variety because when we're feeling out of control, this is a variety emotional state. Does that make sense? It's a different state, and that's all variety means. It just means a change. So from like feeling out of control to is variety in the body, right? And so we get addicted to that anger, that irritability, that frustration. And then eventually it's like, oh, because our body needs variety from that like super what do you call it, energetic, or I lost the word for it, that like just that pressure in your body, that's what it is. Your body needs variety from that. It'll drop, the energy will drop out of your body, and you'll feel depressed or upset or lonely or something of that nature. And then you're meeting your needs on that side too. It's that comforting feeling, even though it doesn't feel very good. It's that comforting feeling. It's very familiar to you, right? There's a sense of connection with ourselves primarily, and maybe with other people who are trying to support us, or with us reaching out to people for help, right? We're feeling connected in those moments. We also have a sense of significance because this is a really big problem, and it really is, right? It's a big problem we haven't been able to solve before, and it's like, I really am important, right? Even though I don't feel important to the world right now, I really am important. So we're giving something to ourselves in a very weird way, but it's true, right? And so eventually we get tired of that. What do? We snap and get angry again. So we're meeting certainty, significance, connection, and variety on one side. We snap to the other side. Certainty, significance, connection, variety on the other side. Now, here's what happens. How many of us, when we're in this fucking back and forth emotional state and just, how many of us start to feel exhausted? Me. I definitely do when I have moments of feeling out of control and I go back and forth and back and forth. It's exhausting mentally, emotionally, on the body, all these different things. And so, because it's so exhausting, we need an escape. This is where this gets controversial, but this whole entire program is about you and I understanding and appreciating ourselves and other people for why they're doing what they're doing or feeling what they're feeling, whether it's suicidal, cheating on their spouse, splitting personalities, um, whether they have an addiction to pornography or cocaine or binge eating, or it doesn't matter what it is. We need to understand practically why people are feeling what they're feeling and doing what they're doing. And you're about to understand addictions right here. When the human being, including yourself and me, feel out of control, we're going to go back and forth in these emotions, and that gets too exhausting. So we need an escape, not want. We need an escape. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to leave that, what I call crazy eight, right? We're going to go down and distract ourselves. Now, as you've learned in the previous trainings, there are only two primary ways to change how you feel. And most of us, until this program at least, we haven't learned how to do that. And so those two things are to change your focus or to change what you're doing with your physical body. Now, notice most people's distraction is distracting what they're focusing on or what they're doing with their body, right? Food, pornography, or working out, or maybe a physical drug, or maybe it's can't think of any other physical ones at the moment. Smoking, right? Things like that. That's a change in your physiology, changes all your feelings that fast. Or they change their focus. They scroll on social media, they watch Netflix. Pornography would be one of those ones that changes what you're focusing on and what you're doing with your body at the same time. Maybe they go shopping, right? Online shopping, they text a friend, they listen to music, they do whatever, but they're changing either their focus or what they're doing with their physical body. So it could look like alcohol, drugs, work, Netflix, kids, the sports, the gym, anything at all. Excuse me, as long as it changes what we're focusing on in our mind and what we're doing with our body, it's going to change how we feel in a heartbeat. Now, you are learning here in this program that we can just change what we're focusing on and what we're doing with our body without the need for anything external, right? But since most people haven't, they use something external to change how they feel. The problem is, what happens? You think about this in your head, right? Or put it in the community so I know that you took this training and you heard what I was saying. Put the answer to this. Let me know that you were listening to this module, and then give me the answer in the community. When I say, what tends to happen when we're done with that distraction, right? We're done with Netflix or the scrolling or the pornography or the flirting or the social media binging or the Netflix or the shopping or reading a book or listening to music or working out. Like, what happens when we're done with the distraction? We go right back to this crazy eight, right? And then we snap and we get angry again and we lash out or we feel super depressed. But either way, we go right back into it. And the reason is because we still feel out of control of our life. All we did was distract ourselves temporarily. And by the way, this is what medication does. It just distracts ourselves for a second. It numbs the nervous system, which means your feelings lessen. The good feelings lessen and the negative feelings lessen. But the problem is, because you and I are still focusing on the same thing and doing the same things with our body physically, even though the drug is in our system, we still feel these negative feelings, but just a little bit less. That's all it is. So that's not a sustainable solution. And by the way, in most cases, therapy is the same thing. We vent, so we're changing what we're focusing on, right? We're not focusing on the problem as much, we're focusing on venting it all out. And as we vent it all out, what happens? We're breathing differently, we're moving differently, and then we feel like, oh, I've just vented it, it's all done. And so we've changed how we feel with our body and our focus for a second, but then we go back to our life with no solutions because typically, not always, but typically, therapists aren't very fucking helpful. And that's probably the reason that you've invested in this program, because you wanted real answers and I promised them, right? So let's move forward. You're probably like, okay, this makes perfect sense. Now, how do I get out of it? Well, this is what I'm going to show you now. There's really only two ways, period. There's only two ways out of this emotional swing. It is not medication and it is not therapy. In fact, it's not even coaching. Okay. Now, I do promise that I will guide you through the whole thing and I will give you every answer and help you through all your beliefs and all the different things to get you there. But there's still two things that are the only way to actually do it. Okay. You can get a guide, which is amazing. And I have guides slash mentors slash coaches for every area of my life. However, we still have to do the thing that changes it, which is only one of two things. We either have to change the conditions of our life that are making us feel out of control, aka if we felt out of control of our relationship, we need to find a way to change the relationship, right? Make the communication better, leave the relationship, meet their needs better. Like there's something within the relationship we have to make better. That would be changing the conditions of the area of your life called relationship. Does that make sense? Or if you don't have enough money, right? Change those conditions. Make more money, save more money, a bit of both, spend less, right? Invest more, just finding a way to have more money. Then you'll feel more in control. Thus, this little crazy eight will go away. If it's your health, again, same thing. Do your best to change the conditions of your health. Now, here's the thing with all of these things. You're not always going to be able to change what's really happening in your life. I have a couple people who talked about how they have physical health problems. Give me 1 second. I'm going to plug in my laptop. There we go. We're good. So I have a couple people who've talked about their physical health conditions. And to some degree, if you actually change your emotions, it's going to have a good benefit on your health because you have different chemicals going through your body. But I mean, like if your foot is hurting or broken, or if like you have an actual heart problem or brain cancer, like if you, or maybe you don't have use of some of your limbs, like there's some real health problems that changing your emotions and all that aren't actually going to help with in terms of changing your life conditions because you can't change the conditions of your life in that case, right? But what we can do is change our belief systems, like the internal world. The external world can't always be completely changed. It can be modified. Sometimes it can be completely changed, but that's not going to work completely because we're still bringing the same way of looking at life, the same beliefs, the same values to our situation. And so it's like when people tell me, I'm going to leave this relationship, changing their life conditions, right? I always say, okay, I'm supportive of that if we first work on all of the beliefs and values that we have inside our head. Because if we don't, we're going to go to the next relationship with the exact same beliefs, the exact same values, create the same relationship over here. We got to change this always first, or at least update it. We don't need to get rid of how it is because it served you in a lot of ways. You're here, right? Fantastic. We just need to bring it to the next level, right? With that said, what does it mean to change your beliefs or your values, right? What that means is, let's say I have a belief in my head that says, you know, my husband must treat me XYZ way, right? He must meet my expectations. I'm using a very simple one. Great, but he's not doing that right now. So I need to change my belief about how he must be showing up because otherwise I'm always going to be upset. So change your belief about how he must show up. Now, we can influence it, etc., but I'm just giving you a very simple example. Or if it's like, I believe that my kids must be acting a different way, or I believe that people are bad and they're all out to hurt me. Well, then you better be on a fucking small island because there's people everywhere, right? And if people are always out to hurt you, your brain is going to be noticing how they might be hurting you all the time, even if they're not. So you're always going to be on like the defense. That's a belief you'd have to change because you could change your life conditions. You could go to that little island with no one else there, but you're eventually going to have, you're going to be starved of your 6 human needs and it's not going to work. You're going to go effing crazy. This is making sense so far? I'm going deep and kind of all over the place, but I want to give you some practical examples now. Okay, number one, there was a man and a woman. I'm going to give you the long story short. There was a man and woman who had just gotten married. The second they said, I do, mwah, they kissed the bride, kissed the groom. They're like, oh my God, why don't we go jump in the pool? It'd be fun. They're at a resort. They had their whole wedding there, or their whole wedding party, and they're like all their guests. And they're like, oh my God, it'd be so much fun. I'm in my suit, you're in your dress. Let's go do it. All the wedding party. So the bride and groom, they both ran into the pool. They both dove in. Everyone else dove in. It was beautiful. Every one of them came up, and the bride, or I guess the now wife, for like 17 seconds, comes up and she goes, where's my husband? My 17-year-old husband. Sorry, not 17-year-old. 17 seconds. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to be funny here. It's not working. My husband, where is he? He started floating. Long story short, he didn't see that he dove into where the step was, and he cracked his neck. Fast forward a couple of years, he had felt totally out of control because this is not what he expected. This is not what he believed his life should look like. This is not what he believed life would look like for him. And of course, for the wife, same thing. She didn't believe this is what her life was going to look like, a crippled husband, right? So they both feel out of control. What do you think they were both doing? They both went back and forth between anger and depression, and anger and depression, and anger and depression, and anger and depression. Luckily, they didn't go see a therapist. They actually went to someone who could help them. And basically, the way that we solved this was we had the husband learn how to be completely present with his wife, like 100% present, no other thoughts, no other feelings, no other nothing, just feeling her completely and being present with her. Her frustration went away in a heartbeat. Her depression went away in a heartbeat because she felt like, whoa, I can feel my man is with me. I feel he's totally calm. He's connected with me. I feel loved. Oh my God, my relationship, I feel good in this very moment. And in that moment, he felt like he could win, which means he felt in control of his relationship again. Now, we did a lot of other things with them, but that's not the point. The point is the second that they both felt in control, meaning their belief system shifted about what was possible in their relationship again, their whole life changed. So we need to work on our beliefs and what we value most. I told you about the beliefs in a real story. Let me tell you about values. Let's say I'm in a relationship and I value feeling comfortable, feeling safe, feeling in control at the highest level, right? But I'm with a man who values freedom, which every man does, by the way. Every man in their nervous system needs to feel completely free. Well, what happens when we are someone who values safety, control, comfort at the highest level? Typically, everything he's wanting to do, she's going to feel out of control of, and she's going to go into this. We need to change our values. Not that we can't value safety, control, and comfort at the high, or sorry, not that we can't value them highly. They just can't be the highest. Does that make sense? So we need to make sure that if we're in a relationship, at least, that our values are aligned with what the relationship needs for sustainability. Because otherwise your emotions are all going to be all over the fucking place. So the only two ways, those are just one example, but the only two ways through feeling like we are out of control of our life and going back and forth is to feel in control again. And the only two ways to do that is by changing our belief systems about how things should be in our mind and or change our life conditions. I'll give you one example of a few examples of them for me. I felt very out of control in my life, my late teens, early 20s, and I told my mom, I'm like, listen, I'm gonna be a millionaire by 30. Now, is that gonna happen? I have no idea. Not likely, but I have no idea. I'm not even fucking close to that right now. Not even close. But what I did do is I said, okay, at the time I was working at Tim Hortons, and if you're not familiar with Canada, it's the most common coffee shop we have here. And I was like, if I'm gonna make enough money to actually get ahead and not just live this very like controlled, minimized life because I can't afford to do anything, barely pay my bills, and save like $20 at the end of the month, I was like, I need to find skills that are going to make me more valuable to the marketplace. That's why you've joined this program, because I developed a set of skills that can help change your entire life. Thus, I was able to make more money. That is an example of me changing the conditions of my life, called career and called finances, right? So I changed my life conditions in that. Now, by the way, here's catch 22. In order to gain the skills and the knowledge to serve you, which changed my life conditions in the financial and career area, I needed to change my belief systems about what was possible. You see how all of this connects? We need to change our belief systems, our values, and we need to change our life conditions to some degree. Both of these things combined, you'll feel more in control again. I did the same thing with my relationship, by the way. It was woman after woman after woman after woman from like, I don't know, 17, 18 years old up until 25 years old. I'm like, holy shit, why can't I figure this relationship thing the fuck out? Why can't I felt so out of control of relationship? Then I changed my beliefs around relationship and my life conditions around relationship. I'll explain what I mean. And everything changed. Meaning, I wrote down, I was like, all right, who do I like? What would be the most ideal woman? Like, who's the ideal person to be in a relationship with this crazy guy who wants to like take over the globe and like serve people globally and like just be crazy? And I was like, okay, this is what the ideal woman would be like. Okay, great. Number two, who would I have to be, or who would I have to, become, for lack of better terms, in order to have that level of woman, that quality of woman, be attracted to me? Okay, I need to be like this. Got it. Okay, cool. I have a lot of growing to do. Number three, once I'm clear on the woman and I'm clear on who I need to kind of become and grow into to attract her, where the fuck would she be? Like, where would I even find her? I'm not going to find her in my house. Likely not going to find her on a dating app. It's like, okay, I need to actually go pursue. I need to go find where she would be. So I thought, long story short, I found her. She's loved my life. Love her so much. Hi, babe. I know you're not watching this, but I thought I'd say hello anyway. And so I changed my life conditions there. Here's what's interesting. When you get into a relationship, you notice the amount of fucked up beliefs that you have and expectations, and then you got to work on those. As a side note to all of this, if you're one of those people who aren't in a relationship and you say, well, I got to work on myself first. No, you don't. You got to get into a relationship to work on yourself. The whole, I need to work on myself before I get into a relationship thing, it's bullshit. Like, we can't even see outside the jar until we're in a relationship where all of our triggers get hit. We think, oh, no, I'm totally fine. Like, no, we got to get into a relationship. We got to actually lift the weights in the gym. We can't think about lifting the weights in our house doing the work. Like, it's like reading the book is not going to build you bicep, or this isn't biceps. Reading the book is not going to build you your chest muscles and your biceps. You have to get into the gym and lift the heavy weights, aka get into the field called relationship. Anyway, I've gone way too far on this. I think you're getting the point. So notice how medication is not going to change our life conditions. It's not going to change our belief systems. In what world, I want you to answer me as well, in what world will medications do either of these two things? They're sure as shit not going to change our life conditions because we're going to take a pill and it's all the same. And number two, it's not going to change our beliefs. If I believe that men are assholes and then I take a pill, I'm still going to believe that men are assholes. If I believe that getting into a car, I'm going to be terrified that I'm going to crash and I take a pill, I'm still going to be terrified that when I get into a car, I'm going to crash. Like, it doesn't change anything, literally nothing, except it minimizes the feeling a little bit. Whipty fucking do. Now, I know I'm swearing a lot right now, but I'm passionate. And that's what happens naturally when I get passionate. So I apologize if you don't like the swearing. But I would hope that you see past that to kind of see what I'm saying. Medication doesn't work. Even for the depths of feeling like suicidal and all that, what we really need to understand is, what are my conflicting beliefs? What am I valuing? What are the conflicts within me that's not allowing me to feel good ever? We need to uncover what those beliefs are, what we're overvaluing. When we do that, we can untangle it, sort it out, get rid of all the triggers, and now you can actually start to feel good again, which will make you believe that life is worth living. So far, I've worked with probably 3 or 4 dozen suicidal people in my life, people who've attempted, people who had the ideation, and I haven't lost one. Knock on wood, I haven't. The reason is because it comes from a belief that says living might be more painful than taking my life. And so what we need to do is change the belief, because what really is a belief? A belief is a feeling of absolute certainty about something. And if I feel certain, right? If I feel absolutely certain that life is more painful than dying, well, what am I going to do? because our beliefs create our emotions, not a lack of medication. Our emotions determine what we do or don't do. It's like when you and I are angry, we don't act loving. We can, but we won't because we're angry, right? When we feel anxious, we can act courageous, but we won't because we're not feeling courageous right now. This is why this whole program is about showing you how to change how you feel in a heartbeat. That way you can do all the things. Anyway, when you're feeling out of control, when you're feeling up and down in all your emotions, like you feel insane up here, this is what's happening. Let me know what resonated with you, and I will chat with you soon.